We're starting to see the changes on newer auto insurance policies, which comes with an important warning so you don't waive valuable coverage that you might absolutely need if you're injured in an accident. Good morning, everybody. It is Jobeth Bowers, your accident and injury attorney, right here in my Elkton, Maryland office. I want to talk about something that I have touched on in the past. One topic that part of this topic I have talked about many times in the past, and I will die on this hill, so to speak, preaching about what is now two coverages that you absolutely need to make sure that you do not waive. One I haven't talked about in this direct context because it hasn't been as relevant. It's based on a newer law, which I have talked about, and that is the enhanced underinsured motorist coverage. Bringing this up now because we have seen more and more in my office folks getting in accidents with vehicles that they have purchased new, or new to them at least, since the change in the law last July 1st, 2024. What is this change in the law? I'm going to give it to you right here because I don't know that I've talked about it directly into this point. But anytime you have a new auto insurance policy, which generally is going to happen for one of two reasons. Number one, you switch companies. That's clearly a new auto insurance policy. Whatever company you were with, that policy no longer exists, but don't cancel it until you have actually signed and bound the coverage with the new company. This policy with the new company is a new policy. Or if you add a vehicle, a new vehicle, you're likely with most companies going to get a new policy. And it's an important distinction that you're getting a new policy versus adding a vehicle or making a change to an existing policy. While I believe that this law may get a little bit cleaner in the future, as of right now, the enhanced underinsured motorist coverage law only applies to new policies. But I have seen a lot of these recently where people have come into my office. We're representing them for an accident case. They have gotten a new vehicle within the past year and a half or so, roughly, not quite, but let's call it that. And now they have the enhanced underinsured motorist coverage. Why do they have it? Because it is default. In fact, if you don't want the enhanced coverage, you must actually sign a waiver. Now, just like with the PIP waivers that I'm going to talk about again, and I've talked about tirelessly because I am an advocate for you, whether you're my client or not, whether you get into an accident or not, I want you to have the best information about this topic that you possibly can. I feel that as an attorney who exclusively handles injuries from automobile accident cases, that I have an obligation to this community to educate you. Now, I can't make you watch this video, but if you're hearing these words, you're watching this video, and I'm doing what I think is part of my job. These companies are going to be sneaky and find ways, especially if you buy your policy online, to slip it into a stack of electronic signatures and a stack of electronic disclosures. So be careful. You do not want to waive this coverage. Sure, it might save you $2 a month to waive this coverage, but if you get in an accident, this is the ultimate coverage where you have the full ability to protect yourself up to what you believe that you are worth financially. What do I mean by that? As we've talked about many, many times, when we buy insurance, we buy amounts of coverage, and we are sometimes bound to the coverage of the person that caused the accident. And here in Maryland, as you well know, if you've watched multiple episodes of this podcast, that limit can be as low as $30,000. Many of our cases are worth more than the $30,000 limit of a minimum limits policy here in Maryland. So we highly recommend our clients get more coverage because that underinsured motorist coverage could come into play to provide extra coverage. And now, if you have what is the default, unless you waive it, enhanced underinsured motorist coverage, if we get and are able to get the insurance company for the other driver to offer the limits of their policy, whether it's 30 or 50 or 100 or more, we can now trigger the enhanced stacking underinsured motorist coverage. So even if you have a minimum limits policy, which I don't believe that you should, but even if you do and you have enhanced coverage, that 30 will stack on top of whatever the other driver had, even if the other driver's policy is larger than your 30. This is big because it's very different than the way it was before. Before, if you had 30 and the other driver had 30, you got nothing extra. If you had 30 and the other driver had 50 or 100 or 250, you get nothing. Now, not that I am endorsing a minimum limits policy, but now, if the other driver even has $1 million in coverage and you are brutally and catastrophically injured, okay? We're not going to get into the details, but let's say that that claim exceeds the value of $1 million. And when we are successful in getting that insurance company to offer the $1 million, even if you have the $30,000 Maryland minimum, if it is enhanced, we will now get $1,030,000 for your claim. And we will fight for you for every dime that we absolutely think that you deserve. As you know, all of our consultations are absolutely free. Hey, look, here I am back to not knowing what side of the screen things are on. That was an old bit. So do not waive that coverage. And the best way to make sure you don't waive that coverage is make sure that you have a live agent. Don't buy that policy online. I know it's quick. I know it's easy. I know it's convenient. But when you then call me and I have to tell you, hey, you waived this coverage, your enhanced underinsured motorist coverage, that's bad news that you shouldn't be hearing from me. You shouldn't be hearing it at all. Or when you find out from me that you waived PIP coverage, that's the other one that you need to not waive. We've talked about it countless times on this podcast. I will do a brief refresh here. That is the first party coverage that will cover wage loss. It will cover medical bills. It's from your policy. It is a no-fault type of coverage, so using it will not make your rates go up. Cannot make your rates go up. The statute is very clear. And I've done episodes where I've actually brought the statute onto the screen. So if I'm not going to do that today, but look back for one of those old episodes and you will see where I break down the statute in Maryland that says all of the different ways that your insurance company cannot mess with your rates for making a PIP claim. This is money that's in your pocket. In my office, if you call me immediately after an accident at the 885-6200 number, and you allow my office to handle each and every aspect of this claim, you're obviously going to go to your medical appointments at doctors that you've chosen or have been referred to by the hospital or other doctors. But if we have the ability to navigate every element of this claim, it is 99 out of 100 times going to result in more money in your pocket at the end, which is the name of the game. My office is going to get everything related to this claim paid for you, including your attorney's fees and any expenses that we incur, and then hand you a big fat check compared to what you went through. So these are important topics. Do not waive the enhanced underinsured motorist coverage. And you can always call my office and ask me what that means if you somehow need more clarity from what I've described on this podcast. You can also email me, info@bowerslawmd.com. You can do so with questions about your claim or about your coverage. And again, my policy on reviewing your auto policy remains 100% free, whether you have been a client of mine or not. It just needs to be a Maryland policy. So if you're finding this video on YouTube and you're in Arkansas or California, I'm not going to advise you on your insurance policy because I don't feel that I'm qualified to do so. I don't practice law there, and every state, these things work differently. If you're closer, like Pennsylvania or Delaware, I will point you and refer you to an attorney who will take a look at your policy. And I'll warn you that most attorneys, if you were to call them up and say, hey, can you take a look at my auto insurance policy? They're going to be like, get out of here. Why are you even bothering me with this? Not me. That's what we want to do here. Whether you're a client of mine, whether you hate me, whatever it is, if you want me to look at your auto policy and give you my opinion, what I would do with it if it were my policy, my family, my future, 100% absolutely free. No cost to you. And usually, depending on my travel schedule, a pretty quick turnaround. And I'll have a conversation with you about it. So if you have other questions, other topics that you'd like to see on the podcast, info@bowerslawmd.com. Again, make sure that you mention that you want it discussed on the podcast. Otherwise, I may just respond to you and it won't end up here. So make sure you mention it. It's totally anonymous. You don't have to worry about me blowing up your spot and saying, hey, Jimmy sent me this question and it's really embarrassing and we're going to talk about it. Oh, and by the way, here's a picture of Jimmy. No, we're not doing anything like that. That's not how it works. If you want those old episodes of the podcast, go to bowerslawmd.com. Click that right up there at the top that says podcast. Also, all of our contact information if you were to need to contact us about a claim. We take no fees until we're successful. So you're not going to pay us money up front. Give us a call. We'll guide you through the process. We'll make sure everything works out as best possible for you. That's all I got for this week. Thanks for tuning in. Share this with somebody because this is super important stuff. And I want to make sure as many people as possible know about it because this is money in your pocket, tens of thousands of dollars of money in your pocket. Be well all. Be safe out there. We'll see you next week right here, 10 a.m. next Monday. Thanks. Be well.